But when you look at Egypt, it starts getting creepier. I was thinking insect, and suddenly I started seeing cocoons. The crozier
is the Ark of the Coven. And
a larva in a cocoon, an underground nest, the mummy wrapped in silk,
the ant consciousness being the parasitic consciousness.
the Egyptians were making themselves ready to go to the afterlife. But why are they imitating the birth of an insect?
Corresponding with the snake.
On the sarcophagus, you see the image of the winged Isis. Everybody sees them as the wings of a bird. I would make them wings of an insect. Isis, Ishtar, Asherah, the queen of the hive. Let's look again at the cone-headed praying mantis. Isis and Madonna on the Super Bowl. Let's take a look at the ceremony. Madonna arriving with her Greek-Roman insect army. Waving palm tree leaves? No, let's make them insect wings. Sitting on the throne like the queen of the hive. Making ritual moves.
Welcome back, my friends, to another episode with the genie. And for this part, we are beginning our journey back where we left off, going through this document, The Lie NASA Told. Now, if you was watching closely, you would have noticed throughout this video the similarities between the ant consciousness and the coven ant. Now, we covered much of the coven ant in the last video, and if you haven't checked out that video, I'd highly suggest that you pause it here and go and watch the first installment to this series. But there are many things that are hidden in plain sight throughout our world, but we have been blinded. We do not have the ability to see what we have not yet seen. But when it's come to light, it is so glaringly obvious. So, next for this, we are going to be diving into the mirror part, as you can see here. But before we do, I want to go and read to you the first paragraph here. Some people's minds are trapped by a dogma of religion. Others are trapped by a dogma of science. They are all one group owned by the same people. They have rewritten your history and given you a false timeline, and this is all done within the last 100 years. By removing the coven law that governs names, they were able to stretch your timeline by using the same images of the same people. What happened in Babylon wasn't a mystery. It was simply removed by renaming hieroglyphs and altering the definition of words. They've altered your concept of what the word meant. They've altered your concept of what heaven, God, and other words are, and they gave you religion to discredit all of it. Nothing of old may go forward. In each new world, you are given a new name. So what we can take from this and realize is that the history and the timeline of our history has been totally and utterly manipulated and created to fit a narrative. And they have just used the same figures but under the disguise of different names, which is exactly what's happening now, because those which are in control are in plain sight, but they're just posing as different people. Now, to move on to the bit that you have been waiting for. A spirit is a living being with an incorruptible body, which is its vehicle. It is as solid as the world around it. In example, one spirit can touch another. You are a mirror of your spirit, which is your double. So in essence, what it's saying here is that there is an invisible aspect to your being which that you are, which is incorruptible and lives on forever, whereby your double in this world is simply mirroring that. And the mirror which shines is an image of what you have become internally. I did go over this in a recent video, so go and check that now. Link will be up on the corner of the video, because I go into depth into your invisible being and the external realm and how they interact with each other. You were created for the spirit to be able to operate within the creation, which is duality, in divide duality, individuality, which is in a different domain environment from the spirit's point of origin. Now, the spirit's point of origin is in oneness, and a different domain is existence, duality, form. You are currently within the domain of matter. There are other domains. All DNA and personality traits are taken from the double to create the mirror. The mirror of mankind has a soul. Now, the mirror of mankind is the collective consciousness, is the collective soul, at which within that you have individed souls, which makes up who you are, everyone being original to itself, but an expression of the whole. You are the soul. The more experience you gain, the deeper your capacity to love grows, because the more experience you gain, the more you learn, and the more you learn, the more you understand, and the more you understand, the greater your capacity for love, because when you understand something, you can emphasize with it. This is called spiritual fat, and is the prize that is sought. And what it's telling you here is that the more experience you gain, the more spiritual fat you can attain, which is the purpose for your existence here. So you should respect your life and your body for that very reason, because the longer you get to live, the more spiritual fat you can attain from doing that. The spirit is the life force, which is the light, the electricity, that animates all things within the domes, the domains. Every living thing has its own mirror here. Without a spirit, the mirror has no life force. When the spirit leaves this domain, the soul inside the exterior visible mirror is pulled by the spirit and goes with it. So what it's essentially saying there is that the body is a lifeless corpse without that which animates it, which is the spirit. It is Akim's razor. A loss of a mirror is the loss to that spirit. Part of its personality and DNA, its own consciousness, is within that mirror. Spirit, which are living beings with a certain physicality, can be captured, and mirrors can be hijacked. Now, it's important to understand this part. Captured is the idea that something can literally contain you within its net. Now, the hijacking takes place through the parasitical consciousness that enters into your perception. And that comes as a product of unawareness and ignorance, because you can't see the way in which your thinking processes are actually destroying you. So to become aware of where you may have been hijacked, you have to become aware of all your thinking processes, your habits and your tendencies, so that you can root out the parasitic natures that may exist there. Demons. Most were dispossessed of a vehicle as punishment, which rendered them parasitic. Their goal is to acquire a host body, which is exactly what you're seeing going on in the world with the thing that cannot be named, which they put into virtually everybody on the planet, or as many people as they could. They are high-level predators whose intent to kill others never change. They enjoy torture and murder. They are without conscience and remorse for their victims. They are pure sociopaths, skilled actors, and liars. Now you have to understand that the demon is essentially the expression of total darkness, the total lack of light. And then you have light, which is the total opposite of the darkness, which is the warmth, which is the comforting aspect of yourself, the loving, the powerful aspect. Now you can't have one without the other, because darkness is needed for the light to be, and the light is needed to shine upon the darkness. Even though reading this may be painful, at the same time, it's important to realize that it's all of one essence, and it's the one essence which is the total mastery, because everything will eventually restore balance. It is impossible for a demon of the abyss to change polarity and become good. They were called snake worship because they come from the branch of Set, Seten, Satan, Saturn, whom Sumerian called An, and the Hebrew and Muslim called Solomon. And every coven from Buddha to Christ, the followers become incorporated, which gives silent consent for them to seal you at the time of division of the families. If you gave them your oath, they are allowed to seal you. Now, what he is talking about is the religion in itself and not the teachings, okay? They're two vastly different things. The religion, if you give yourself to a religion, that is what's then allowing them to seal you. But if you take from the religion the core teachings and understand the wisdom that was portrayed behind the words and the essence of what is happening within your consciousness, so that you can rise up to become a Buddha or a Christ, you go beyond the religion, you go beyond separation, and you ascend up to the core of where you came, which is your true self, your inner self, of which nothing can touch. Nephilim is not the name of a race, it literally means reanimated body. An placed the Nephilim over the populations of conquered mankind and created the priesthood. You have those who reign, which is the military, the intelligence agency, those who rule, judges and the court system, exempt from the law, soldiers and finances, re-education systems, i.e. schools, all trading, prison wardens, communication, genetics, commodities, and a totalitarian state. Now, my friends, for this video, I'm going to leave it there. Now, what commences in this document is mind-boggling to say the least. It actually continues to go in depth into not only our origins, but also gives us true pictures of the earth from outside of it. And I tell you what, if it is true, it's absolutely fascinating to see. That is going to come in the next installment of this series, so I hope you are enjoying it. If you are, so let me know so I can get that next video out to you ASAP. Make sure to comment anything else that you have to add to the video, like if you did enjoy it, and subscribe for more content to come. Also follow me on all my social medias at Reborn13 to keep up to date with me when I'm not active on YouTube. But I'm going to leave it there for today, and I will be back soon. Goodbye.